So let's try this again because my battery died apparently on the last attempt. But there's a rumor going around. Well, not a rumor, but it's an article that's going around by the U.S. Sun. Also, the Sun basically is something that has a publication in the U.S. and the U.K. talking about the fact that there has been eternal talks within WWE with the likes of Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and others, Nick Khan as well, to, I guess, celebrate Vince McMahon next year at WrestleMania 39. Now, that could possibly mean, headlining the Hall of Fame with him going in. It could possibly mean that. Or co-headlining the Hall of Fame with him going in along with The Rock. They could do that. But when I heard about, when Pro Wrestling Unlimited reported this on the YouTube channel, and even I could hear from what's his name, Tom, whatever his name is, and I can just tell by the way he was reading off the article that he too kind of probably is taking this with a grain of salt, considering the source it's coming from. But yeah, apparently there's eternal talk, according to them, to potentially bring back Vince next year to celebrate his contributions to the business. Bringing the sports entertainment of wrestling, sport of wrestling, entertainment of wrestling, into the spotlight back, when he did in the mid-'80s. And look, I'm not denying that Vince doesn't deserve his accolades. He does. He has done a lot for this business. I mean, according to the article that PWU read off, look, we may have not agreed with the way he did storylines or the way he presented certain characters and stuff, but we cannot deny what he's done long term for this for this business from the mid '80s to currently. We can't deny that. I mean, we wouldn't have stars like a Hulk Hogan, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin, like a Bret Hart, who I was fortunate to meet and everything. We wouldn't have like I said, a Hulk Hogan, a Bret Hart, a Stone Cold Steve Austin, an Ultimate Warrior, a Macho Man Randy Savage, Macho King Randy Savage. We wouldn't have, gotten, a Rock, or a John Cena or a Kurt Angle, or Triple H to an extent, or any of them, an Undertaker. We wouldn't have gotten any of these talents if it wasn't for Vince McMahon, bringing them in and pushing them the way he did. But the thing is, despite him doing all that, and again doing a lot, and like I said, doing a lot more for the business in a positive way, for the WWE to honor him, not even a year after he resigned and stepped down and retired because of this investigation going on, for them to decide that WrestleMania of all places would be the best time to do it, even though I do agree WrestleMania time along with the Hall of Fame is a good time to do it, this isn't the best time. This is not the best time. Because, one, even though a majority, the more noteworthy portion of the investigation is kind of like done with, it's still going through a process of other steps. And there's a good chance that during one of those processing steps, something more noteworthy could come out. And the last thing WWE needs, if they decide to go through with this, is for something like that to come to the forefront around the same time they are pretty much locking in or attempting to lock in, this decision to celebrate Vince's contributions, whether it's with a co-headlining induction into the Hall of Fame, as well as a tribute at WrestleMania. The last thing they need is something to pop up that's going to, paint them in a darker light than they want to be, as well as paint Vince in a darker light than he wants to be, or he already is, I should say. So when I look at something like this by, a source like the Sun, whether it's the U.S. or U.K. Publications of it, I take it with a grain of salt. Because if there's one thing I will agree with people like JD, from NY206, Just Alex, and Solomon and all those that I follow, is that the only sources you should rely on are those that have connections in the business. And those sources being the likes of a Fightful.com and Sean Ross Sapp, Andrew Zarian and the Madman podcast, to an extent Dave Meltzer, I should say, a Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, a WrestleVotes, and so on. You should rely more on them than something like the Sun. Now, I know people will say, well, didn't the Wall Street Journal break the news originally about the scandal? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. But that was more of an eternal business kind of thing. Like, that had to deal with funds that should have not been tampered with by Vince McMahon as hush money. That's the whole deal. Because the Wall Street Journal, yeah, it does report news, but it mostly reports what's going on in the stock market, what's going on with major corporations and stuff, along with other worldwide news. But it's mostly focused on all of that I just mentioned: the stock market, the Dow Jones owns, and the corporations that are going up and going down, as far as investing is concerned. So for them to uncover what's going on, that's not a surprise, because maybe they were investigating, not investigating, maybe they were getting ready to get some reports from WWE when whoever leaked the information to them, let it be known that, yeah, this is what's been happening. I just thought we'd let you know. So if you're curious as to why, the money hasn't been generating the way it should be, or things are a little unbalanced, here's why. So I'm more acceptive to believe the Wall Street Journal than I would, the Sun, whether it's the UK or the US version. Because the Sun, even though it has gotten some things right, in the past, not that much, it still falls into the reputation of being more like, a tabloid article, a tabloid newspaper, or magazine, almost on the same veins of a National Enquirer or the Globe. Both have been known to over-exaggerate stories that they shouldn't, or make up crap that they shouldn't. All because they want people's attention, or all because they know there are conspiracy theorists and speculating theorists out there that will buy into what they say, and all that. I mean, there's even people, and this was joked about on Raw Cognitivance, the recent Raw Cognitivance podcast with Just Alex and his co-host, and the two ladies that were co-hosting that day. And I have to say this to them right now. All due respect, guys, I understand it's your podcast. You can say what you want. I think you should have a little bit more respect on the passing of one of the longest reigning rulers in the world, and a beloved one at that. But, which I think they do, but they would probably but I think what they were doing is making fun of all the theorists, all the conspiracy theorists, thinking and believing that the Queen had passed on 2 months prior, and now we're just finding out about it, which I don't think is the case. So, I just want to say to them, please be more respectful about, certain things like that. I mean, I know you're just doing your job. You're trying to make light of a tragic situation, but still, I just wish for you guys to be more respectful on that. But anyway, getting back on, topic, and how it ties into that. Basically, there are conspiracy theorists that believe the Queen had passed 2 months prior, and now we're just finding out about it, that believe anything, a tabloid like National Enquirer or the Globe, or to an extent the Sun, with its the UK or US versions, will publish just to get attention. I mean, it's very similar to how some people here on YouTube do these wrestling news channels, and they put out headlines of Roman Reigns got stripped by Triple H, this happened, that happened, and we all know that that's not entirely true. We know that it's not entirely true. So basically, for them to come out and say that kind of stuff, all they're doing that for is for views, for people to tune into the channel, because they know that there are folks that are theorists, theorists, conspiracy theorists, and speculating theorists that will buy into that. You know, and again, the Sun, which is the U.S. or the U.K. version, unfortunately, its reputation causes them to fall into that category more so than anything else. And that's a fact. Again, like I said, they've gotten a few things true here and there, but they're more, you know, they're more along the lines of being a more believable version of National Enquirer and the Globe. Which is why I take this article that they reported with a grain of salt. And I think you should too. Because again, look, you know, not again, but, okay, let me rewind to, alright. I'm not saying that, you know, Vince doesn't deserve being, you know, tributed and thanked, you know, and praised for what he's done for the business. I'm not denying that. As I said earlier, he does deserve it. It's just the timing right now is not the best timing. The timing right now is not the best timing. Because again, even though the main headlining, more noteworthy portion of the investigation is done, there's still processing steps going on with it, to where if they decide to go through with the investigation, you know, not through the investigation, but if they decide to go through with the with this tribute, this induction of him into the Hall of Fame and all that, co-headlining with someone like The Rock, you know, they don't need something to pop up out of nowhere that's going to put a dark cloud over that. So my thought is this: they should wait to the 40th edition of Wrestlemania in Philadelphia. Wait till then that is the year you do it, along with the induction of someone like a Paul Heyman and a few others. And that's when you do it. Because that way, not only are you inducting two people that had an impact on the wrestling business, you know, Paul Heyman with ECW, Vince McMahon with WWE, but you give this whole situation that's happening right now plenty of time to kind of simmer down. You know, like I said, you give it plenty of time to simmer down, cool down, and let whatever they find out in these processing steps be revealed, and, you know, see what's next. So when I listen to when I read and hear about something like this, I strongly take it with a grain of salt. And I know JD from NY206, he probably is hearing this, and he's getting a chuckle out of it. You know, I know Just Alex is looking at this, and he's getting a chuckle out of it. So is Solomasa, OTR Central. And all of them will agree that there's no denying Vince does deserve to be recognized for his contributions. But this timing right now is not the best timing. The timing right now is not the best timing. So I take this article with a grain of salt, all because of the reputation that the Sun has. Like I said, the Sun has gotten a few things right and correct throughout the years, throughout its existence. I'm not denying it. But over time of its existence, it's fallen more prey into being just like tabloids like the National Enquirer and the Globe. You know, it over-exaggerates things, it makes up things because they want, you know, readership numbers. They want, you know, they want purchase numbers. They want viewership numbers. And if they have to make up something that may or may not be true, or be true to an extent, then they'll do it. But I just do not see this being true to any extent, except maybe the internal discussions. Like, you know, they'll be meeting every day, and one of the topics on the table is inducting Vince into the Hall of Fame next year at WrestleMania, where he'll co-headline with The Rock, or doing a tribute during WrestleMania weekend at WrestleMania with its night 1 and 2 to Vince, and that's it. But you know but to me, that's the only thing you should believe of any extent when it comes to this article. That's the only thing. So, in closing, guys, as I just said, take this article with a grain of salt, and that the only thing you should believe out of it is this internal discussion, and that's it, nothing more. Unless reliable sources in the wrestling business like a Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, like a Bill Apter, like a WrestleVotes, like a Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com, like an Andrew Zarian of Madman Podcast, and so on, unless they come out and confirm what the U.S. Sun and what the U.S. Sun has said to be true, then you can start really talking about what this means. But until then, take most of this with a grain of salt, and the only part you should believe is it's being discussed eternally, and that's it. Nothing more. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Super chats and super stickers will be open during the premiere of the video, as well as super thanks afterwards. You can also support me financially ASAP right away at places like Venmo at Brian-Roma-2 and at Cash App at BWRoses98, where I will get the funds immediately to help out with bills and to help expand this channel even further. Also, you can support me financially by purchasing stuff at the Teespring store, and I guarantee you'll enjoy some of the stuff you will see there. As well as you can support me by listening to BW Roses Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also check me out at deviantart.com/BVW1939. Support me as well at patreon.com/BWRoses with a $1 and $3 tier. And until next time, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this. Do you believe any of this? Or do you think, again, it's something that you take with a grain of salt because only bits of it might be true, and that bit might just be the internal discussions, and that's it? Let me know again down below and in the live chat during the premiere, and I'll talk to you later.